had taken it out because I knew you had to plug in. I can plug it in over here.
Okay.
Because it's just going to keep beeping while we. Maybe I should plug it in the bedroom. Yeah, no, I'm with the sacking stuff. Yes. Your question is yes, because about some of the stuff I'm talking about. Because how else can you actually explain this life if you don't tell about what really happened? What really made it like it is? I mean, after all, I come after Dexter Gordon and them.
Okay.
I'm like a connecting link between the Dexter Gordon, that whole Charlie Parker, early Miles Davis, all the big drug era, come first vegetarian wave from the hippie era.
Okay.
Because when I moved downtown New York from up on 85th Street, I moved on 81st Street because I had lived on 85th when I first got there, and then trying to get work and I had the sports car there, and for a while it was kind of skimpy. And I was there because I had saved this money working in Northern Division Aircraft, but I never saw the money. It just went to my bank account. I mean, it was like they put it in. When I resigned, I got all this money.
Okay.
So when I ran out of money, I moved in with Brother Brown. And I was staying there for a while. That was when Charles Murphy came by and got me to make that record with Albert Island.
I think we're getting ahead of the story a little bit, because how long did you spend at Bridgeport?
I spent, me and Dorothy got married 3 days before, married with a wife and child was no longer a deferment. Because we rode down and got married. So that was 62, 63, 64. So that was 64 we got married. November 64, I think it was.
Were you still in school?
Yes.
So that was like the second year of college at Bridgeport.
Right.
64, before the draft deferment rules changed.
Yeah, for Johnson signed the thing, changing the draft, making it so people could be drafted. Remember that? Wait, now I forgot. Reason that's significant is this. I told you this before. When I went, you're supposed then I'm believing what people say and thinking follow the rules and laws and shit. We're supposed to go if you're going out of state, you go register with the Army, the draft board, and let them know where you're going to be, in case country come back into emergency and they need to draft you, right?
Okay.
Well, I go down to the draft board to tell people, because I had to learn to read a little more, and Life magazine had put out this issue where it was talking about the difference between black athletes and white athletes. And in that same issue, this is a Life magazine issue, they were talking about how black men's buttocks create the gluteus maximum, help the energy flow or something to make them faster. Shit. Well, that's much bullshit. What makes them faster is the mamas didn't have no money to buy baby cribs and carriages and put the little motherfucker down on the floor, and his motor skills develop faster. That's Brown's, because this is shit he was into.
Okay.
That was his work. Examining this kind of shit. But also, and it was in that thing talking about the smartest men in America were the white males. Northern white males are the smartest. Next to them were northern black males. In other words, if you're black and you're up north, you're pretty well educated. Third comes in the white male, which is what pissed her off. And then fourth white southern male, and fourth is the black southern male.
Pissed off the lady at the draft office?
At the draft.
All right.
She tells me her husband is like on the city council or something, and I'm one of those smart ass niggas, and she gonna make sure my little black ass go to the Army. And she kept her word, because the chancellor of the school, the people in the jazz running the jazz thing in the school. I mean, because I was doing my work. I enjoyed being there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just to be with people who were that smart. I'm getting off. So one day I was in the library and this girl told me, "How you spell your name? R-O-N-N-Y or R-O-N-I-N-I-E?" I come down, so I don't know what the fuck she's talking. little Jewish lady. So I said, well, which one should I pick? So I said, I.E. Oh, you spell your name like a girl.
They called you Ronnie at that time?
No, but that's what she said. You know, that she was just fucking, you know, just messing with me.
She assumed that you used the nickname?
Right. You know what I mean? Anyway, this draft woman, the chancellor and them all wrote letters so they wouldn't let me out of the draft. You know, I was top physical shape and shit. So I got married.
So there was no student exemption?
No.
You could be drafted even if
you're school, right.
Okay.
So I got married. And Dorothy was trying to get away from her Wilmington, Delaware black police officer.
Boyfriend?
Her boyfriend, who had come out of the Korean thing and got a job, and he's one of the mad, pistol crazy kind of people, right? Well, I've been in the streets, you know. So when he came to Thanksgiving dinner, he put these guns on the table, come pulling out these guns, sit them on the table. So I told him, you know, straight out, you know, unless you're going to use them things, take them off the table because it's bad etiquette. And so that made it so, you know, so that by the time the year come around, we were almost shacking together by then. No, we weren't. But we were going together very seriously.
And then you got married.
And then we got married, went down to New York, got married, came back. I dropped her at school and went right to Connecticut National Bank. Because now, by then, I'm not working at a United Aircraft. I'm working at Connecticut National Bank, running a racket machine. In other words, sorting checks going out to different states and shit, right? Which is also where I'm working at when Kennedy is assassinated.
So that's November 63. Your second year of school.
I guess so.
Fall of 63, heading towards spring of 64, your second year at Bridgeport.
Okay. So I'm working at the bank when I know that for sure. You know, I might have things in order, we have to work that out. But I remember that for sure because I was the only person there who was from Texas. And I was... all these people who were, I'd never been around such white people who were so nice and polite and very, you know, really wonderful people. Mm-hmm. But it was just such a heavy blow. I mean, people think 9/11 was a heavy blow, but if they had been here for the Kennedy blow, they'd been prepared for it. You know, the country was. Look at what happened after that. You know, the whole movement of the spirit of the country moved. Mm-hmm. Okay, but so you know, when he got assassinated, I'm working at the bank, and that shit just turned shit around so bad. And then I think after that, I think I go down to. I also was working at the Rheingold Brewery, too, which was owned by Betty Crawford at that time. It was another job I had. These all jobs. I was working in marketing. Mm-hmm. In other words, I had this sports car so I could ride around all over Connecticut, speeding going on, putting up, doing the merchandise, you know, setting the beer out in the aisles and stacking that kind of shit. That's what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And didn't drink beer. And they give us a case every week, and I gave it to my neighbor. I always thought about that when I became a beer drinker. Mm-hmm. I said, damn, all that beer I gave away. But if you worked at one of the breweries, when you walk in there, you smell that beer in the morning. You don't want to drink no beer. Anyway, we had gotten married, and we didn't live together for that whole year. Because her mother was really out there. And we finally got together. And well, to make a long story short, I wound up, someone just told me I had to go to New York. I had to go play.
And was that when you went with an NYU thing, or you moved?
No. How did it happen was, I'm working out there at Korsky, and I started designing drums. And being that I'm working in the executive area with this clearance thing, sometimes maybe once or twice a month, they'd send me down to Grumman's, down in Long Island. Well, I'd come around and go through lower part of downtown to Park Row, where at that time in New York City, Park Row had was where all the drum shops were.
Where J&R's is now?
Yeah.
Back Park Road?
Down in Park Road was all the drum shops. Most you buy all kind of parts and shit. It was all Jewish, really, because Jewish people on the music stores, Nannies and the rest of them. But they were all before they came to 46th Street or 47th Street, wherever it is now, between 6 and 7. They were all down on Park Road. There wasn't no in an area just like. If you wanted to buy cheap suits, you go down to Eldridge Street, which is like another Jewish area center where, they had nothing but places where they make your suits. Well, Park Road was all instruments place. Now we started putting these drums and shit together because I'm still working on weekends with this piano trio and sometimes with the trombone player who I met, and his brother would play bass or something. No, his brother was the piano player. But his brother went to another school. His brother didn't go to university. Anyway, I'm still getting this work through his brother, working these little swanky places around up in Connecticut. Connecticut got had nice places, paid good money too. So I started putting together and made a 16-inch bass drum. Because the kind of places we were playing with these, is grand piano, acoustic bass. Half time they didn't even need an amplifier. We was playing so soft. So I knew the bass drum was the thing that was booming the most. So I made a bass drum, 16-inch bass drum. And I used it up until the time I was working with McCoy Tiny Trio downtown at Pee Wee's on 12th Street. But I just got and started designing drums, and after I started designing drums, and then Arthur one weekend we went down to the ocean, and I had took this acid, and we were out there on the blanket, and I guess in the early afternoon, and I didn't come back for about 4, 5, 6 hours. I was seeing shit down in the water, all kind of shit, and when we got home, she was out of her mind when I did come up on her because she thought I'd drowned or something crazy had happened. We get home, and I go up to the bedroom. I had drums set up there by then because I had this rhythmic idea that I play on that box set with Albert Island. I knew I had played it because that was the first time I actually played it because it came to me while we were playing down in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. I remember doing it a couple of years ago too. It comes back every once in a while. But it was like the first rhythmic idea that I could say was just mine. I'm going blah, tom ahead, blah. Tom, snare, tom, floor tom. Mm-hmm. Single note first, dot. Second time, mom and daddy are double, dot. Triplets really, dot when I come back around with it. And I just worked on it rest of the evening and locked it in. And it was then that I started doubling the sock pedal. Now, I don't know that Tony Williams is doing this.
What do you mean by doubling it?
In other words, if you go back and listen to Philly Joe and the rest of them during that early time period, Blakely, Blakely had that Philly Joe too.
Yeah.
They grew up playing in circuses and shit. Tony came to town playing 16 notes, 8 notes on the sock pedal. Mm-hmm. I had started that also, not knowing anything or hearing anything, like in the bedroom up in Connecticut after that trip. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I came up on it, but I don't know why I came up with a rhythm pattern. I couldn't tell you why. Just something that happened within that sequence of events. And I didn't have a problem practicing. Dorothy didn't. I think I gave her a check every week anyway. 2 weeks, whatever it was. Because we were laughing last night about the fact that she was feeding me lamb chops for a long time in gravy. I thought they were pork chops. I didn't know the difference. One day we at the table and her daughter just bust out laughing. I was up talking about pork chops. And her daughter Shane, who was Tommy Beach, bought her a side of a mountain in Vermont. She still lives there. And she also works very high up in that one of them big foundations you hear on TV all the time right now. Mm-hmm. You know, Shane, I'm wondering what she laughing about. And her mama telling him, you better not tell him. You better not tell him. Shane couldn't stop laughing. I said, you better tell me. What? Don't you know them lamb chops? They ain't no pork chop. Anyway, no, that's we were just, and I just kept working on the rhythms and ideas, and then it came to the point where I couldn't take that job no more.